All right. Okay, so I already did an hour and 45-minute stream to nothing, doing this entire thing. So I wanted to actually stream this because it was actually good, a good experiment all the way around. So let me pop out the chat here, just in case people do come in this time. So, what I want to do right now is the same backup, or to look at the backups that I did yesterday, and I want to be able to create a backup over a network. So, to go into why I did the test yesterday, or the testing the backups in Windows 10 yesterday, was my father is using a third-party backup solution, and his computer had failed last week or a week and a half ago, and we had to recover, and we had some issues trying to recover from that. So what I was doing was trying to see if Windows 10 has the capability to do backups, and to do full image backups, and how does it work and all that stuff, so I can recommend it to him instead of using this third-party solution. I was able to do that yesterday, get that working. It looked good. So what I want to do now is to be able to back up to a network drive. Now, I'm going to do something a little unconventional here with this this backup solution. As far as what I want to be able to do, so I'm going to create a NAS storage so that we have some place to store the data on the network. What I would like to be able to do is do a local backup to a local SSD, and then copy that to the network. But since I already tried this test, it didn't work in Windows 10. You can only have one backup in one backup location. If there's other solutions, I don't know. I didn't see it right off. But so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get started here. I'm going to go ahead and start my Windows 10 system and get that running there. So along with that, we're going to create a NAS, and I went and downloaded FreeNAS, and we're going to do FreeBSD, I believe, and they want 8 gigs, but when I did this, it was 4 gig. It allowed me to do it. We're going to create a virtual disk. I'm going to be allocated, and I don't need more than 8 gigs of storage there. So I'm going to do in here, let's give it 4 threads. Video memory does not mean anything in this situation, but I do need to add why are you IDE? It's okay. We'll add a SATA controller. That's fine. So we'll create some hard drives here. We're going to create 3 64 gigabyte hard drives. All right, so we've got 3 64 gigabyte hard drives. Just so that I have something to put it to. Call this solid state. Here also solid state drive. Yeah. Disable audio. And we're going to use a NAT network backup test. So I created a NAT network for VirtualBox here. That all looks good. I've already put the Windows 10 test machine on that NAT network. Where are we? On backup test. So here we're on backup test also. One last thing I didn't do, which was put the FreeNAS disk in, and we'll start that machine. So we're going to boot that machine, and I don't need to see that at 150%. I'll put that down to 100%, let that boot. Or actually we'll do install. Yeah, you're fine with it. Only 4 gigs. And you're going to install to that drive. Good. Yep. Create a password. Make sure I type that correctly. That doesn't have UEFI on that machine, so we'll let it boot to BIOS and continue on. So here, we're going to go into backup settings and the Windows 7 backups. So we'll let this get started doing a backup to that that USB drive, or the virtual USB drive I've got. It doesn't even, I didn't configure it as a USB, but I saw that in VirtualBox, which is interesting. But that's our B drive. We'll let it do its backup to it. As we get FreeNAS working, so let that go. All right. So FreeNAS is being installed. I don't know, is the music too loud? I think it is. Turn that down a little bit. I just want it to be background music and not something that's overpowering, but all right. So when I did the stream that didn't stream earlier, FreeNAS was actually really interesting to set up and use. The first time using it, I'm actually really happy with it. Made a mistake, but I won't do it this time. But I'm showing you how to set up FreeNAS in this, and at least you'll be able to see what to do just to get it quickly running. So. Alright, FreeNAS is done, so we're going to eject the virtual drive. Yep, and I don't need to do anything else. We'll just restart that. Let that guy boot. So once that boots, it'll tell us the IP address on the network that it gets. And we'll be able to connect to it in the Windows 10 machine. And then we'll be able to start configuring the volumes, configure the shares, configure the access, and we'll work with that. So I'm hoping this won't take the hour and 45 minutes that it did a little while ago, but don't know. I don't remember it doing that last time. Oh, whatever. It's doing what it's doing. All right. So there it is. It's up and running. So we're going to open up Firefox here. My IP address 200.6. All right. And yep. So we'll log in as root. All right, so let's do two things real quick. We're going to create a viewer account. Stop it. Firefox, whatever. We're gonna just give it a password of viewer. And it won't have any write permissions. And then we're going to create another, call it writer. All right. Yep. Same password, writer. And it will have all right. So before we do that, apparently we need to create the pool first, or the storage. So yeah, we're gonna add a pool. I'm gonna create a new pool and suggest a layout. Surprise, surprise. And we're gonna call this data pool. I don't need encryption. Yeah, RAID Z. Sure. Yep, I'm gonna create that pool. It's gonna be 124 gigs. Perfect. All right. So go back to our accounts. User. Let's edit viewer. So viewer is going to have access to the data pool. And I need to uncheck that write permission. So he doesn't get to write to that folder, and he gets to view it. This is where we're going to add writer. Again, I'm just setting it up to where the password is the same as the user, just so it's easy to remember. All right. So that's pretty much that. So the Windows backup is still working. What we're going to do in the meantime is we're going to make sure that we can join that, or we can map that network drive. So we're going to join it to Z, and we're going to say, if I can type correctly, 200.6 and data. It's fine. Connect using different credentials. So we're going to use the viewer credentials. Okay, what did I do wrong? 206 data. Music has stopped. Yes, I remember. We need to add a share. Surprise, surprise. View. thinking about how to do this. So view will export as read-only. It's fine. So we're controlling that with two ways. The view account won't be able to write. The view share also won't be able to write. The write share will be able to write to that folder. And the write user will have the ability to write to that folder. So that should be that. Now I should be able to come back here, map this network drive. And we're going to change this to view. Those credentials. That's not what I want. What's going on here? Let's cancel out of this. Oh, that's why. And I can't edit the username. All right. All right. Delete, confirm. Ah, come on. Confirm, delete. That's what I did wrong. We're going to recreate that user. All right. So writer is correct. Good there. Oh, I'm just going to add viewer. All right. Now I think we got that sorted. Map a network drive. Yep. Let me go back here. Oh. Let's go back to the shares, the Samba shares, the view directory. View. So viewer. Should have hit remember my credentials, but that's okay. Why did you create? Oh, you created home folders. I see. You can't do anything there. Why is this stopping? repeat was off. Let's do that one. Okay, can you create anything in viewer? Nope. Okay, so either way, you can only view in this folder. So what we're going to do is we're going to create, or we're going to connect the backup with the writer user and the writer share. So now that we've done a backup to the B drive, we're going to now change the settings here. We're going to save on the network. Again, 192.168.200.6, but this time to the write folder. And we're going to use the writer account. Try that. All right, that should be okay. I don't know why you're not. Let's give me more options. I mean, yeah, that's fine if you're going to allow me. All right. Should be able to write to it now. Was not having this issue before. What's going on? Well, I'm not sure what's going on here. Okay, this was working before. Maybe just wants the folder. I don't know. Since it has full permissions to that. Oh, it is what it is. Okay. That is what I did last time too. All right. Okay. Anyways, yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and continue with the backup. That is what I did last time. So apparently the users don't have direct access to this root, the root of the share, at least not at this point. So whatever, it has access to that user's folder underneath that share. I probably need to work with FreeNAS a little bit more to figure out why that's should have access to that root share, but whatever. So yep, we want to do a backup of everything to that writer folder, and that's going to get started. So we can go back to storage, pools. Should be. Okay. So we're going to view the details of the backup. So it's backing up the user stuff. So let me see if I can look in here while it's doing the backup. Maybe I can see why it was not allowing me access to that share. Should be the share. may be why. Oh. I don't know. Ah. There. Okay. That's what we need to do. I get it. Okay, so what it looks like you need to do, I shouldn't have shared that pool. So what I did was I shared basically the pool itself, and I shouldn't have done that. I should have created a new share and that that folder underneath that pool. That way, with that folder, I could have changed the permissions on that folder to who had access to it instead of just sharing the pool. So that makes sense. I don't use FreeNAS, so at least this was just a test realistically. So what I hope I can do, since I have the viewer here, I wonder if I can open writers folder. Yeah, I can. So can I open up so I shouldn't be able to write anything to writers folder. Okay. All right. I get it. But I should be able to. Oh, come on. Thank you, Windows. See if it lets me open the file. It does let me open it. Okay. So the viewer does still have read access to everything there. That's good for what I'm going to do with the recovery. still backing up here. Let's go to the pool. We do need to remember that the share is whatever the share is, and that folder is where our backup is. We'll need to remember that. All right, now it's doing the images, which is good. So right now we're not getting great compression ratio. I mean, better than... We're getting at least no compression. Better than having negative compression. But that'll change once the images start going. The compression ratio changes a little bit. It's going up a little bit. Alright, so we should start seeing this. Compression is going up a little bit. And compression's going up pretty well as more data gets there. So that's good. That's what we want to see. I mean, that's what we like to see. So it looks like we're halfway there. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, not the greatest disk speeds, but you know, it is what it is. Okay, interesting. All right, we're at the 50-minute mark. I'm gonna let this backup continue. I'm gonna get something to drink, and I'll be right back. Okay, still going. This backup's almost done. Any moment now. A little bit more. It's interesting. Let's see, how big is the data actually here? 21 gigs of space used. So I assume it uses some compression. That doesn't make sense. I don't know. I mean, I know that the FreeNAS is using compression, but how this disk usage here is going to be smaller than who knows. Who knows, but whatever. I think it comes back as like 14 gigs. I should be able to see it here. Yeah, I know. Oh, 15 gigs. So it's got to be doing some kind of compression. But when we get here, the Windows image. Probably about it. It's almost there. Yeah, see, it's got to be almost done. There it is. All right. So our backup's done. It's on that. We can see it in the view folder or in the view share, and we can't screw with it, right? So access denied. We can view it, or we can view the files in here. All right, cool. So we want to see. So what we're going to do, now that we know the backup is done on the network, we're going to go ahead and make sure our Windows disk is in. And we're going to restart. And then we're going to boot to the Windows disk. This Windows CD, yeah, boot to that. So I know I showed this last time as to how to delete the partitions, but I'll show it again. And how to actually access this. So we boot to a Windows installer CD, and we get greeted with this. We can hit Shift and F10. It'll open up the command line. And so in there we can start disk part. We could do something similar in Linux. We could boot up a Linux disk and run disk part, or parted, or there's a couple of different things we could do. Fdisk. We could do similar things. So we'll list the disks. 0 is the one where we have our OS, and we want to delete that one. So we're going to select disk 0, and you can also use shortened strings there for commands. So we're going to list the parts in disk 0, and exactly we're going to use the clean command on disk 0. That cleans the disk. So we can list part again, and nothing's there. And to make sure that that's true, we're going to open disk part right again. We're going to list disks, and then we're going to select disk 0 again, list parts, and the partitions are gone. So we can exit out of that, and we'll use the Windows repair to repair my system. Now it found the backups on the D drive, or that B drive originally, but we're not going to use that. We're going to select a different image, and we're going to need to connect to the network. So we're going to do 192.168.200 6. And we're going to look at the view partition. Now, if you remember the view or the view share, if you remember the view share did not have any write permissions, but we're going to go to the writers folder, which is where the backup was stored. So now it's going to ask me for credentials, and I have to use /viewer, and the password is also viewer for this one. Open that up. When I did this earlier, it took me a lot of tries to figure this out. You have to use that / to indicate that you're using not a domain, basically. So we're going to select that. That's our shared drive. We want that backup. And I'm not worried about either of these disks, but it will go to the right disk. So disk 1 is where our backups are. When I first did this, I selected to exclude disk 1, but it doesn't matter. So we don't need to install any drivers, and automatically restart and automatically check and repair. Yep. So looks good. All disks will be reformatted to replaced with the layout and the data in the system image. Are you sure you want to continue? Yes. And now we recover. So there we go. We're going to spend another 15-20 minutes recovering this. Hopefully it's not that bad. But so that viewer user has the ability to view all those files. You don't have to write to that partition or that share. You don't have to have write access to where you're recovering from. So that's a kind of an important distinction. You do need write access when creating the backup. So basically, what I'm trying to get at with that is if you had a user's folder that user wanted to be able to make sure that the backups were being created, but you didn't want to give them access to it to write to it directly, but you wanted your backup software to be able to write to it, you create those two separate users. The backup user has the rights to write to that folder, and your user directly would have access to view, read, and as part of reading, being able to recover from that folder. So they just need to know that they just need to know their credentials. As a system admin, you'd be able to set up the backup credentials, so the user doesn't need to know that, but your software does. So when you set it up, you can put that in there, make sure that it's using those credentials, that it does have write access to that folder. So what that allows is that in case the user has a problem on their computer, malware of any kind that might, like the WannaCry, I think it was, or malware that might encrypt all of the data on the machine. This is exactly the reason why I started using these backups, the backup software that my dad is using, because he was hit with something like this. But we were already doing the backups beforehand because I saw this happening. I wanted to make sure that he was protected. So we had set these backups to be stored on through FTP, which the malware would not even be able to see that, wouldn't have access to the FTP folder. And my concern was if he had a share connected and mounted, that malware might be able to modify those files also if as a user, you don't have access to write to those files, but you can see them. Well, the malware is not going to be able to write to them either, because it's going to use your local credentials. So what this does is it allows you to be able to, or allows the user to be able to see the files, recover from the files, and the backup software to be able to back up, but it's protected. It's secluded from any malware in that way. So that's really what we were trying to do. So when we did what we were able to do with his backup software in order to make it faster for him was to back up to a local USB disk, and then the third-party backup software was able to copy that to the FTP location, the off-site location, which was still on-site. It was local. It was in his house, but to the computer, it was off-site. Unfortunately, with Windows backup, you don't have that option to have that second storage location. So the question is, do we use the USB location, or do we use the network location, or do we now figure out create the backup on the USB and then do something like rsync in a cron job or a scheduled task to copy those files to the network location through FTP or rsync, because that's still a service that's not directly visible to the user, but through that task, you could still write to that area. So that's probably what I'm going to do tomorrow, is to either look at rsync and see if I can set up an rsync access on the FreeNAS and do a backup to that B drive and duplicate that to the network share, while still providing that view access to that share. So that's what I'm probably going to try and work on tomorrow. Now we're in 17 minutes in. I have 0 dropped frames. That's amazing. Okie dokie. Yep, let's restart. So recovered directly from that network location. Looks like it's come backs up just fine. Couldn't reconnect, huh? Is that because you didn't remember the credentials? Because I forgot to set those credentials. It's true. All right, so it's really good. So to recap, what we did was we set up FreeNAS. We went through the configuration of FreeNAS, got that working, added users, kind of screwed up that, but we got that working for the most part. And we created the location to back up to. We created a share, or well, we added the storage pool. We created the share. We provided permissions to allow a user to write to a folder so we can store the backups. We allowed a viewer user to view the folder without being able to write to the folder. We created the backup. We made the backup, ran the backup, and then we recovered from that network backup. So really excited that we're able to get this all working. Yep. So there it is, and the backup should still run every time we every day at 7 o'clock, and it's VM. It'll be basically when we start the machine. But everything's here. You know, our custom software, because it backed up as images, we can, you know, load up our stuff. All of our data is still here, like the pictures we downloaded from Imager. So really excited about that. So again, the point of this was basically because my father had issues with recovering his backups from third-party software. I wanted a more cleaner solution that didn't rely on this third-party software. So I'm trying to find a way that makes sense as far as utilizing his network backup or his network storage location to perform those backups, and hopefully tomorrow I'll be able to see if I can find a way to utilize the USB drive, so it's local to his machine and on and we can back that up to the network storage. But I don't know if that's going to be possible, and just the network storage or just the USB is probably going to be fine for him. He might be happy if we can get rid of the network storage. I'm not sure. But that was the intent, and it looks like it's working great, as I was hoping. It's pretty clean, utilizing the Windows 10 or the backup in Windows 10. So I wanted to go into a little bit of what I'm using here. So I'm using Oracle VirtualBox to do these VMs. I used FreeNAS to build the FreeNAS server. In here on the Windows 10 machine, in order to get Windows installed, I use this Windows ISO. In order to get the Windows ISO, you have to get that from, you can do Windows search on Google for Windows download. Just go to the Microsoft website, and you can go and download the Windows 10 media installation tool or media creation tool. And I've already downloaded that. And I'll go here to my download, run this. So this tool is how I created that ISO. We'll get that started. And this ISO allows you to install all the versions of Windows 10. That's Home, Pro, and the other ones like the N versions, which are for other countries. So this, I'll show you as it starts up. Takes a minute. This allows you to create a USB drive that you can boot to, or you can create a disc, a CD or DVD. And the way it allows you to create a DVD, it allows you to download the ISO, and then it opens up the burning application so that you now are required to burn that ISO. And once, from my memory, once you do that, or once you close out of the setup wizard here, or this Windows 10 setup tool, it actually deletes that ISO. So what you really need to do is, once it's downloaded it, and once that burning tool comes up, you want to copy that ISO out of the directory of where it put it. That may be different, may have changed, but that's what I do remember. So that's how I was able to store that ISO. But that ISO provides all the tools for recovery and installation of a brand new installation of Windows 10. So once you've accepted the license agreement, and it'll continue through this stuff. So let's close out of this. So you can either upgrade this PC now, which is, it forces an installation of the current version of Windows 10, which is basically, I believe it'll write the installer to a boot partition. But we want to create the installation media. Just click next. You can either use the recommended options for this PC, or if you want to make sure you download for another system, like if you had a 32-bit computer, you can do that, or you can choose both. It's a little bit bigger. Or if you want to choose your language. So English is fine. So you can burn it to a USB flash drive, or use an ISO file. So it'll ask you, okay, where do you want to save it? And then you save that ISO file. Once it's done, it'll come up with the burning tool. But that's how you get the ISO file for Windows 10. Yep. All right. So that's what I use for the VMs, at least in this instance. So we'll go ahead and shut down that Windows 10. And then we will come over here and shut down the FreeNAS. Yep. All right, so again, that's the Oracle's VirtualBox that I'm using to create those VMs and create that little network. Over here, I'm just running Winamp. I've got some music that I got from what was in there in YouTube's audio library for free, and this is music by Max McFerrin. So thanks, Max, for putting this music up in the audio library. I appreciate it. It's better than me not having anything in the background. The last video posted had music, and it was flagged for copyright. So I'm going through the tool to remove the music now, to mute that out. But this is at least something that's free that I can use to have music in the background instead of just hearing nothing. So that's this music. And this is Milk Drop, which is part of Winamp, and they also actually have that as part of VLC too. So you can have visualizations in VLC. That's pretty much it. If you like this and you want to see more, let me know in the comments. Like and subscribe to my channel. I will, whether you like and whether you want more, I'm gonna post more. Because I do like doing this kind of stuff. I like testing things out. I like seeing how things work. I think doing this in a live stream kind of like this is pretty good. It allows you to see my thought process, see what I'm doing, seeing what I'm struggling with. And I think it's beneficial to see that process instead of just seeing somebody who's doing something by a book and going through a list of instructions and not knowing, figuring out what it really does or why they need to do it. So no, it's not perfect. I messed up in a couple of places, but I understand that better now instead of just going through the rules and going through instructions and not knowing why I have to do those steps in those orders. So if you like it, let me know. Like and subscribe to this channel, and it makes me know that people are watching or want to watch and see this. I know I'm not going to be able to do this live every night. I do have a day job as an essential worker, so my weekdays are still kind of taken up. But I want to do this because I know that there are people out there that are wanting more content on YouTube and on the internet. So I want people to be able to see this stuff. Maybe you learn something. Maybe you haven't had a chance to see this yourself. So this is what I'm trying to provide. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Hit that like button. So that's about it. I'm going to end the stream now. Thanks.